recording just to make sure that it's good on my end, recording wise.
Cool. Yep.
And then,
yeah, I could just talk a little bit for
Yeah,
you.
you
If
just
that's what you're looking for.
talk about some pork chop sandwiches or something.
You're not kicking? Yeah, dude.
Thank you. So many people don't get that reference.
Yeah.
Oh, hi there. I'm Dan Bradley, and I'm really glad you're here. This is a space for the stories that make us human. The ones with scars, falls, and second chances, third chances, fourth chances, hell, fifth chances, however many chances it takes. Because, again, we're human. Because resilience isn't always about having it all together. It's actually sometimes usually the opposite. It's about learning to stand up again and again and again, even when life knocks you flat, again and again. Here we talk about hope. And it's not always the cozy, cartoony, Disney, fluffy kind, but the kind you really have to fight for. The kind that grows out of the messes, disasters, and mistakes and still dares to shine anyway. So wherever you are, and whatever you're carrying, take a deep breath. You made it here. Welcome to Braving the Bright Side. How has everyone's week been going? Hope it's going all right. Hope it's nothing too heavy for you, nothing too hard for you, and nothing too crazy. Definitely feels like fall out there. My week has been good. Took some time off of work. I know if you listened to last week's episode, you had to listen to me get all fired up about Red October, and that's the Philadelphia Phillies being in the postseason. Well, just in that short amount of time, the Phillies are now out of the postseason, which, is also very Philly of us. Always brutal, when you put your emotional state into this team. But then I woke up this morning and I thought to myself, literally nothing else in my life has changed. Nothing's different. I just have to put away my red hats and my red jerseys until next summer, when I'm ready to get hurt all over again. But I woke up, it was gorgeous out, and the world still turns, and there are other things going on besides baseball. It sounds like I'm bitter, and it's because I am, but also because, honestly, it does not affect my life besides me just being in a crappy mood for a couple hours and then doom scrolling on Instagram and hate watching a bunch of videos of the Phillies falling apart. But I digress. There's more to life than baseball, especially now. So that's where I'm at. I'm moving on to bigger, better things. Who needs a World Series parade down Broad Street anyway? Really, I feel like it's overrated. It's so 2008, so 2000 and late. Bet you didn't expect a Black Eyed Peas / Fergie reference dropped on your podcast today, but you're welcome. That's just a small part of what I bring to the table here in the podcast world. So, booyah. Hope everything's going all right for you guys. Hope this week hasn't been too crazy. I mean, I guess every week's crazy, right? It just depends on where you look and how much energy and time you spend focusing on different aspects of life. For instance, everyone's really upset about the Super Bowl halftime show. But we do have a new Nobel Peace Prize winner. Also, there's peace talks breaking out, supposedly, somewhere out there. I try not to get too political or dive into anything too specific in terms of what's going on out there because, I do think it's important you stay informed, but I also think it's important to have safe spaces and places you can go to where, your mental clarity and your mental health is taken seriously and not affected by everything else that's out there, because everything else that's out there right now is super heavy. And it seems like any kind of step you take in any kind of direction, people immediately want to know where you stand. When even you're just trying to walk and do your own thing, politics and opinions and everything else is just infused into every aspect of our lives right now. It's exhausting. So, I try to want to keep this separate, but I'm also aware that it's a lot out there. And again, with social media, and us just having pretty much the information highway of the entire world in our pockets at all times, it's a lot. And, it's crazy. It's both good and bad, but and a lot of stuff out there they're just massive distractions. A lot of these conversations, it's not to, kind of downplay anything or belittle any conversation out there, but a lot of these things that are being blown up on social media and across the board, these conversations are just distractions, that are there to kind of seep the energy out of your soul and kind of lose focus on yourself and the world and love and empathy and stuff like that. And it just kind of tries to harden you. And it's hard. It's like I said, it's been around for a long time. TV stations, news stations have been doing this for a long time, but it's, bad news always grabs more attention, right? And it's ratings and money. So a lot of times wherever you look, it's just heavy, crappy news, right? So you have to dig sometimes to find the good news. And like I said, the world's tough out there. And I know a lot of you out there are pushing through some pretty heavy stuff right now. So, what I like to do before we dive into this week's conversation, I'm going to take a minute to kind of share some good things happening out there because, we all need reminders that the world isn't just falling apart, right? So every week I try to dig and find a feel-good news article to read aloud on this podcast that I started for you. The idea is that hopefully this kind of brightens your spirits up a little bit, gives you a little bit more of a pep in your step, kind of helps you realize that there's a whole big, beautiful world out there, beyond what you're being shown and told. And there is still some pretty kick-ass human beings out there. So I found this one from a new website I just discovered called the Goodness Exchange, goodness-exchange.com. Again, I'll link this in the podcast description underneath. But this is an article called "The Glam Squad Lifts Spirits and Self-Esteem for Hospital Patients." Making hospital patients feel beautiful is the mission of the nonprofit Simply from the Heart. But it is much more than just providing glam. The organization's volunteers, called the Glam Squad, lift spirits and self-esteem wherever they go. Illinois-based Simply from the Heart sends the Glam Squad to pamper long-term patients in hospitals throughout the U.S. with hairstyling, manicures, makeovers, facials, and more importantly, providing hope to people fighting cancer or chronic illnesses. The cosmetics and nail polish are actually tools to get the patients to open up and talk from the heart. The organization's founder, Jacqueline Castanis, is determined to help people forget about labels and diagnosis, at least just for a little while, through these pampering sessions. She founded the organization after her childhood best friend, Brooke Bali, died of cancer at a young age. When Brooke became ill, Castanis dropped everything to support her. She was told at 27 years old that she had a year to live. Once I found out she was very sick, I came home and I took up residency with her in her hospital room. And I realized it was a very stale environment. It was very sad on her psyche. There was nothing to kind of motivate her to feel like herself and to feel pretty. And so I brought her hair and makeup products, tried everything to lift her spirits, Castanis said. And she, believe it or not, started taking less morphine, and it changed her entire persona. Losing her best friend gave Castanis a new perspective on what it means to help restore dignity and quality of life to people who are facing long-term illnesses. She wanted to replicate this experience to others by starting the organization and the Glam Squad volunteers. Since its founding in 2014, in just one state, the nonprofit's volunteers, that Castanis calls her Glam Girls, fill boxes with 30 beauty products that are donated by people and companies and take them to people in hospitals in 15 cities across the United States. They've already been given to more than 7,000 patients, and these visits have transformed their lives. One patient, I remember her saying, "These girls healed me in a way the doctors could not." And I think that spoke to a lot of us, said Costanis. We have our doctors and they keep us alive. But emotionally, we want our souls to feel sparked up to get us through. The volunteers are the heart of the organization and are composed of professionals and people who are passionate about the mission. They're also transformed by the experience. During my time volunteering with Simply from the Heart, I've often wondered, who's helping who here? I felt so fulfilled and rewarded during the visits. A symbiotic relationship is formed during the experience, Lindy Shaw, a Glam Squad member, said. I've been reminded how lucky I am to be healthy, how great it feels to brighten someone's day, and how strong and positive these people are in the face of life's biggest test, and how, really, we are all the same. Simply from the Heart and the dedicated Glam Squad, they are proving the gift of making people feel beautiful and positive about themselves. This is the best medicine for the soul. So there you have it. That's your feel-good news story. The Glam Squad's out there brightening up souls who are facing some really tough challenges. And I think that's one of my favorite style of feel-good news, or just my favorite stories in general. One of my favorite stories in general is, people just volunteering and helping other people who are facing adversities. For no other reason besides just wanting to help, and then in doing so, they kind of, make these connections and kind of transform their own lives just from putting their own souls out there to help another soul. And I think there is something so beautiful about that. Again, empathy goes a long, long way, and it's important we don't forget that. It's just, there's something beautiful about people setting aside time to help other people because they just want to. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. And this story is incredible. Glam Squad, what a brilliant idea. And I love the line of the doctors are there to keep us alive. But we also need the soul to feel alive as well. And it's so very, very true. So that's your feel good news story. I will link that story in the description so you can click it. Again, the website in which I found this article, thegoodnessexchange.com, is phenomenal. They break everything into categories of different really good news stories, anything from like politics to environment to just feel good hope. So check it out. It's definitely good if you're feeling the weight of the world and just need a spark of brightness in your day. Read one of those articles. It'll give you a little bit more faith in each step you take. All right, let's switch up gears. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of the episode, shall we? When most people hear the name Chris Raab, they think about the wild stunts, the laughs, the chaos, Raab himself, right? But what stuck with me after talking to him is what came after all that. The quiet work of rebuilding and figuring out who you are once the cameras stop rolling and people stop calling. This conversation isn't about fame or infamy. It's about growth, about what it takes to turn pain into peace, and how honesty with yourself and with others can completely change the direction of your life. I'm incredibly grateful he was willing to open up and share what the journey's been like. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Chris Raab. All right, Raab, thanks for joining me on Braving the Bright Side.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
How are you today, man?
Good.
How's life for Chris Raab these days?
Well, right now, extremely stressful. I'm in the middle of a move, and I was telling you when I got here that I was waiting for the internet to come, and they were like, "Oh no, you texted us and canceled it." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "Can you show me the text?" And they're like, "Oh no, we can't show you the text." I'm like, "Well, I don't have that."
Yeah.
So, and then on the weekend, the movers showed up 4 hours late, busted up a bunch of shit, broke my table, scratched everything up. It was awesome.
Yeah,
so,
it sounds pretty cool the way you put it.
Yeah, really cool. I didn't like that stuff anyway, so I felt
Did you ever get any kind of clarification on who texted these people and said that don't?
No.
not
I
set
mean,
you up, or?
that's what I was, like, then they were
I
like,
assure you, I was not blacked out when I did this. Like,
yeah. I was like, I don't know who took my phone. But no, they just basically, that's what they said. And I was like, I'm sorry, but it kind of sounds like bullshit.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and then they started going, well, no. And I was like, well, I took the day off of work, and they're like, well, your time is very valuable. I'm like, I don't think it is. I mean, I don't think you really care. And I was like, give me a few months for free then. And then they were like, well, we can't do that. So I'm like, so it's not valuable.
Yeah, so not that valuable.
yeah. But then she did say they're gonna scratch the install fee, which is good, because I was like, there's no proof that I did that. I'm like, why would I do? I'm sitting right here waiting for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm calling you looking for you right now.
Yeah.
Why would I do this?
Yeah.
Also, the install fee is insane to me.
Yeah.
Because we moved into this place not too long ago, and at some point in time, they changed that. They're like, oh, you can install it yourself. We'll just walk you through it. I was like, I'm not going to install this myself. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even know how to hook up. Like, I almost broke my refrigerator just opening it one time. I'm not doing this. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I was like, you got to send somebody down here. They're like, all right, we'll send somebody down there, but it's going to be $100. I was like, all right, great. Thanks, lady.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I love the install, because you feel like it's probably like, and it's on. All right, $100. You're like, because
it definitely
it's
is.
Already wired. How could there not be?
Yeah.
Like, the wire is coming out of the wall. Like, where are you? What are you doing?
Yeah. What's the install? How deep is this going right now?
Yeah.
It's awful.
They're cutting through like the walls. Like, no, we need to
sawing through. Don't worry, it's Verizon. We know what we're doing here. All right.
Yeah.
Trust us.
Yeah. Just you're gonna have to fix that, but yeah, it'll be worth it in the end. You're gonna get all the streaming you want to pay for from 75 different companies, and
and you have to pay each company separately.
Yes.
While you get it. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad it's going so well then.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, like we always talk about the first world problems. It's a good situation to be in a place where you can move into a new place and then, have that be your problem. Because reality is like, that's nothing. Like, there's a lot of people, and not to get all heavy and dramatic about it, but a lot of people can't get internet.
Yeah.
So
now listen, we do heavy and dramatic on this podcast, so that's fine.
Play that dramatic music, like
Hans Zimmer style.
It's like, he had no internet. It's like, how's he gonna surf the web?
This isn't AOL.
Yes.
I don't know if they're still surfing the web.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a web anymore.
Oh, trust me, getting barreled in that web.
That's great. But you're right. I mean, it is kind of a blessing to have like that be your main problem right now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, not bad.
I'm excited for people to hear your story, because jumping off of that, your story, it's a good one and it's a long one. I feel like a lot of people may not know it. So, where do we begin, sir? Where would you like to jump in?
Well, I was born on May 21st.
Yeah.
10.7 pounds.
The moon was high that night.
Yeah. It's a fat little kid, the big head. And now I'm just a little man with a big head.
Yeah. I've seen bigger.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I hear that a lot. But yeah, no. So I mean, in terms of just kind of my story, it's there's a lot of parts of funny stuff as a kid. My parents split up early, and then I was kind of just like instantly a punk rock kid from that moment. I was the kid on the bus at 9 years old with an earring and a blue mohawk, and all the other kids are like, God, I want to get an earring, and all the other parents are like, don't do what that kid's doing. Like I was the bad influence to all kids in the neighborhood, and I was definitely the scapegoat for any parent who was kind of not parenting and wanted to blame me. Because I always loved it. Like my mom, she kind of would have my back. She's like, look, Chris is a little piece of shit. We know that, but that doesn't mean your kid isn't. Like we are all aware that he's an asshole. But it was kind of that thing of it was easy to blame it on me, but I'd say that to my mom, like, look, I did what they're saying, but I didn't have to twist his arm.
Yeah.
Like he
jumped right in with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
The reason I hang out with him is because he's interested in mischief and fucking off like I am.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was kind of just always that way. And, from a very early age, and then my friends reflected that. And, at about 6, 7 years old. That's when Bam and I met in first grade at Glen Acres and in Westchester, and we both skateboarded. And kind of the funny story we'll both tell is like we walked up to each other and it was like, "Hey man, you got a bowl cut? I got a bowl cut." And it was like, and then it was just like, "All right," and then we're just
fucking ride together.
Yeah. It was like, man, we got the same stupid haircut. Cool, let's do it. And he was super into Tony Hawk, and I was into Steve Caballero, skateboarding wise, and like that was Bones Brigade, like Search for Animal Chin was kind of that era, and I had the cab board, and he had Tony board, and he was always like drawing like the hawk like skull that was on the graphic for Tony Hawk.
Oh yeah.
And so then we started hanging out and skateboarding and just hanging together, and I always say it was really rad because the way life turned out later, like we were fans of those guys, and back in the day in Westchester in Everhart Park, the Bones Brigade came here and like set up a ramp and did like a demo, and we met them like as little kids. This is like 87 or 88. We were super young, and then like they came and we met them, and we would have never known then that later down the line we would get to know Tony Hawk like really well, and do a lot of videos with him and a lot of stuff. And he was in Haggard and in the CKY videos and Viva La Bam and Jackass.
That's right. Yeah, so, I forgot about that.
So yeah,
that's pretty wild. That's pretty cool.
So it was cool that we just that life kind of went that way, but him and I became close buds early on in elementary, and like I said, we were just kind of instigating each other to always sort of take it to the next level. And,
that's how you know it's a good friendship right there.
Yeah,
just keep pushing it. You fucking do it next.
Yeah.
Bring the matches.
Yeah. And it was fun because his dad Phil had a video camera, like back in the day when it was like a VHS. Video
my family had them. Yeah,
those big
pop the big VHS tape out and then pop it in there.
Yeah. So he had that, and he was filming Bam skateboarding a lot, and I skated mini ramp a bunch, and when it went to street skating, I kind of like did it still a little, but not much. Bam was always just kind of like a prodigy for skateboarding when we were young, and he stuck with it and kept doing it, and Phil would like video him with the camera, and then while I'm there with like Mark Hanna and Willard Muse and all the guys like across the street. We would just kind of mess around doing other little prank things, and Bam and Jess and all them. And then it started to kind of grow more as we got a little older. Ryan Dunn moved to Westchester from Ohio, and he was into filming, and Brandon DiCamillo was into filming.
He looked like he was from Ohio. I didn't realize that. Yeah, that's amazing. That makes absolute sense now.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know what that look is, but yes. We always said the plugs, like his nose looked like an outlet, like that you would plug like the saw into. But but yeah, it just like the group of friends just kept growing, and just super funny people, and like Naked Dave and Mike Maldonado was an amazing skateboarder, still is. We're older now, but the dude Maldonado's like still ripping.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. I was out with him.
Do you still skateboard? You still
no, I cruise around, but more to hold a camera. And I was out with Maldonado not too long ago, and my buddy Johnny Baines. And those guys, like, Johnny's mid-40s, Maldonado's almost 50, and still fucking ripping.
That's wild.
And I was just out, like, it was like just brought the camera out just to mess around and film a little bit, but that was fun. And but all those guys, were around, and like I said, the collective of creative people when we were young just kept kind of growing, and the Margera's household was like
the hub.
Yeah, like the center of it.
That's really cool. I mean, that's such a beautiful thing. I feel like people always talk about that too, like surround yourself with creative people. And the fact that all these people started coming together, and then at Bam's house was like the landing point.
Yeah,
and
cool. And that's the thing, because April and Phil were always just so like just so encouraging for all of it. And like I always say that because My mom was very much that way too, just like encourage you to be who you are. And and so just having that when you're young and having people be like behind that and encouraging that is so huge, especially in that day and age, because like skateboarding was considered like you're a punk. Like now it's like, well, maybe you can get into the Olympics. Like that was not the case. It was like, get that kid off that skateboard.
There was like PSAs against it pretty much at that point.
There was. Absolutely. It was like, and then, the thing for like skateboarding is not a crime. Like they had to like say that, because people were like, I'm pretty sure it's a crime. But just having that like that environment of creative people and that collective of everybody was so cool. And Bam at the helm of that, because like he was just kind of just so committed to skateboarding and driven in that way. And
he had the charisma for it for sure.
Yeah. And so I think that just like, helped kind of form what our childhood was, and then what ended up coming from that, like all the CKY videos, and then into Jackass, and then into Viva La Bam. And that was just kind of a crazy ride, to be a part of all of that and travel the world with your friends, just laughing your ass off, doing just, crazy shit. And I'm super grateful for it. There's the ups and downs, and the amazing parts and the dark parts, and
for sure,
all that stuff that kind of comes from that. But
I imagine it happened pretty quickly for you too. I mean, like getting swept up and all that, and all of a sudden you're just kind of like, oh shit, we're making fucking movies of this now. Like,
well, yeah, I think the part that happened quick was once Jackass, the pilot happened, like then it started to be a quick thing. I think prior to that, like we've always filmed stuff since we were young. I don't think there was ever a thought that anything would ever be turned into something.
Yeah.
It was more like, this is just funny stuff to make our friends laugh.
Yeah.
And Bam's connections through the skateboard world is what got all the CKY videos. Like the first CKY video was basically all his skate parts, and Maldonado and Carey and those guys, like all those skate parts that they had that they were going to put onto Landspeed, which was one of his sponsors, their skate video. But Bam had all this footage of all of us doing a bunch of random shit and his skate footage, and he was like, I'm going to put all that together, and like kind of, his just kind of his, I don't like to use the word genius, but his kind of I don't know, his foresight into doing that, being able to put all that together and kind of have that ADD edit before ADD was so obviously everyone says they have it now, and everyone does have it, because with social media, how could you not?
I mean, it automatically does it almost. I feel like.
But he sort of had that foresight to see that and go, like, people don't want to just sit there and watch long things. They want to see this quick edit of funny shit. And and so his edit style for the CKY stuff, with all Brandon's freestyles and like smashing me over the head with a pan or whatever, or smacking you when you're sleeping or whatever, all that kind of stuff, just quick hits, that made it super, fun and digestible for people, because it was a new style of thing.
I was gonna say, I mean, no one had seen. I remember seeing that for the first time. I'd be like, "Wait, what is this? Like, this is amazing."
Yeah,
it's like late '90s, right?
Yeah,
I imagine at this point. So like
that was the first one. Yeah, and then Y2K was like CKY2K was like right around Y2K.
Y2K, yeah.
And and then that stuff started getting noticed in skate shops, but also the connection to Jeff Tremaine at Big Brother Skate magazine.
Yeah.
Bam, had known them since like 14 years old or whatever, Cossack and Knoxville and those guys. Knoxville was more of like an editor for a thing, not a skateboarder, but Pontius skated and Jason Weeman and all them. So like that whole Big Brother collective as well, mixed with ours, came together, and Jackass happened.
Wow. So like two collectives kind of just formed together.
Yeah.
And when I remember seeing Jackass, I just assumed everybody skateboarded. So
most everybody had either been on a skateboard, but not everybody was pro. Like Bam was a pro.
Yeah.
Pontius, I probably had flow at a point, and he was like at the edge of pro. Like he was a really good skateboarder too. Steve-O skates. Jason Weeman was a pro as well, and then Dave England and Aaron McGahee were snowboarders.
Oh, wow.
So, but just all in the mix of that Big Brother stuff, and then us, Brandon, Ryan, and me, and Jess, and Rake, and all those guys. Maldonado was a pro. Kerry Getz was a pro. Tim O'Connor. So a whole bunch of pro skaters were in the mix of all that stuff. But yeah, it was Knoxville and Tremaine and Spike Jones that had the connect to make it happen, and get Jackass,
So it lands on MTV, bam, MTV lands, and you're off to the races at that point, right?
Yeah, and that's the part where it was kind of crazy because for me, I was at college at that point. Like I had just started.
Were you in Westchester?
No, Shippensburg.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I was at Shippensburg, and it was the first semester of sophomore year, was October of 2000 when the pilot aired. But we had shot it prior. Like, it was a bunch of CKY footage, Big Brother footage, and then a few new things to like round out the episode. And the concept was kind of like the way I remember it. I was super young, but like it was more like, hey, we're gonna air this and see if this episode really kind of gets any traction. And when they aired it, like, people loved it because they kind of showed some like little like snippets of it before they aired the episode, and then when they did, it just like blew off the ratings. So then they ordered like 7 or 8 more of them, and then we did that, and that was considered like one season was like 8 episodes, and we did a total of 25 episodes of the show. And then Knoxville was like in this position where he was being offered a bunch of movies, and then like they're asking like, we want to do more, and he was realizing like, yo, because it's a lot. Like, we had filmed a lot of that CKY stuff over time, and some of the Big Brother stuff, over time, and then it was like, oh, okay, make this happen every week. It was like, dude, people are breaking their arms. They're doing it like, your foot's broken and you got to go try and do, it just started to get pretty like intense, and it was like asking a lot of everybody to do it. And Knoxville was always just super cool with that, and asking like, hey, do you guys want to keep doing this? Because like he kind of blew up the most in that period and had these opportunities, but was very cool to everybody about like, do you want to keep doing it? And and I think everybody was kind of beat up at that point after the 25 episodes, because you're like, you're broke.
I can imagine. I didn't even think of that when looking at that show. Like, you're filming this back to back to back to back to back, and you're just beating the shit out of yourself.
And right over time, when
you're still going to college through all this.
Wow. So and that was what was so weird about it. It was like the first episode aired, and I'm like up in this attic with some of my friends, and like they're all like, "What? You're gonna be on MTV tonight?" And it was like, "Yeah, it's gonna air here and at this time." And then we all kind of had like a watch party at Ship, and it was just wild because like I'd never been on TV or seen it or whatever. And then all of a sudden, like, the episode comes on and you see it starting, and it's like, just starting to see like shopping cart stuff, to see these things, whatever. And then I did this shopping cart bit where I launched off this launch ramp, and it was funny because Bam's a pro skateboarder, and he put the ramp down, and I was like, oh man, that looks far, like from the bush. He's like, no, dude, that's where it should be. And I was like, I don't think so. Like, I think didn't trust like like the pro skater who knows exactly what the velocity is and how it's gonna land. I was like, I think it needs to move a little closer. He's like, all right. And then I moved it closer, and he pushes me, and I went flying over the bush, missed the bush, ripped my arm out of the socket, tore my rotator cuff, and it's actually this one. I separated the right one, tore the left one, but then had to go to the hospital, and my body's like tweaking out. They had to give you morphine, and then they just like basically they put a sleeve around your body and just rip it back in, and it's like, so they do that, and then they come and they're like, hey Raab, say like, I'm Raab Himself, welcome to Jackass. And it was like, it was Jess that was like, dude, say it in reverse because you're all morphined up. And so I was like, I'm Jackass, you're watching Raab Himself. And then like that made it to the thing. And my friends that are in the room were like, what the fuck? You know, like everyone's flipping out, like, holy shit, you're like on
That is you there.
Yeah. And it was wild, you know, to have that kind of experience. And that was definitely like a memory that I have.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm sure, man.
Of it being that. And then it just kept going. And for me, the concept was like, you know, I don't know that this is gonna last. I gotta stay in college.
I was just gonna say, like, how sustainable it is. You know, specifically for you. You know, where are you guys filming it? Are you filming it in the area, like
in Westchester? Yeah.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure if you were flying anywhere or anything like that, but.
Well, yeah. I mean, they started to, and I kind of missed some of that stuff because I was in school, and it was a weird thing because like a lot of the guys, you know, Raikyan, he's a chemist, so he like had already graduated college and he had like his chemist job, you know, but most everybody else wasn't in college, so they like had the time to just go travel anywhere. And in my mind, I was like, I'm kind of a, you know, at the time I thought about it too, I was like, I'm kind of a background player in this. Like, I gotta have a job. Like, what, you know, like this is cool, it's fun, but they weren't offering me money that was like, yeah, quit. You know, because like if they were like, hey, here's a bunch of money, I'd been like, all right, yeah, I'm done with college. Why do I need to do that? I'll go back if I need to. But at the time, it was like, you know, they were definitely dangling carrots, and it was barely anything. And you're like, I mean, that's like beer money, dude. I'm gonna just make sure I do college. And it wasn't until Viva La Bam where you started to get real paychecks. Right. So like, and
you were pretty heavily featured in Viva La Bam.
Yeah. So I was in every one of those episodes and in a bunch. And then at that point, it was Dunn kind of got me hooked up with him, and we started touring, doing like the live Jackass sort of shows at like Lollapalooza and all the spring break things. And I started doing that stuff with him. And I'll be honest, I made more money doing that than I did with MTV, because MTV doesn't pay much. Yeah. You know? So more money was made doing that stuff. And he kind of got me, he kind of took me under his wing. He's always like a big brother to me. And he was actually friends with my older brother before I met him. So
at this point, you've graduated college and...
at that point, Viva La Bam. The funny part is I was still in college, but I talked to the school and I was like, I need to drop out because like I'm working all day every day with this show now. Like where Jackass, you would film like, it's like, hey, let's go get a bit, you know, and it would be like, do the bungee wedgie or do the like you know, do the like ride your bike naked through Westchester. Right. You could just do that on the weekend or do something quick and get a clip.
Knock it out and then go back to school.
Yeah, and then this was like you're there all day and you're filming all day and you got to be a part of that scene and part of this scene and whatever. Yeah. And so so then I talked to school and was like, hey, I kind of need to drop out. And at the time I was a business major, and the dude, Dr. Carlin, he came to me and he's the like TV film stuff, broadcast journalism, you know, all that stuff. And he was like, dude, if you, well, he probably didn't say dude, but but he was like, hey, if you switch majors and come over to the journalism, like, and focus on TV and film, like we could actually set a situation up where like you can get credit for classes while you're at school, at the set, because like you're doing what we're teaching you to do. So in reality, like at the time for me, I'm like, whatever, all right, you know, but then when you look back, it's like, I mean, he wasn't wrong, you know, it's not like they were just handing me a thing. It's like, this is what you're studying to do and you're doing it. So it was like, in a sense, like internship credits and those kind of things, like, and then like certain things or whatever. But, you know, the reality for me was I was like living life like a rock star. I was drinking, partying, drugging, whatever, doing all that wild shit. So, and like doing gnarly stuff for the show. And I remember one time I'm like so hammered, and they weren't requiring that for the show. I just happened to be an alcoholic addict, and it was a perfect, like, you know, playing field to be in that scenario. You'd go do those tours at spring break, and everybody's like, "Hey, I got every drug you ever wanted, all for you, and it's free." You're like, "What? Oh, yeah." Free, it's got to be good.
Well, if it's free,
yeah.
You've twisted my arm.
Yeah. So with that, like, I just kind of started, you know, I went down that road and was living like a maniac, and I remember the one producer, Bruce, like at one point I was just all hopped up and fucking crazy. And we're doing this, we're jumping off this thing. And I came over and was like, hey, can you sign this paper? And he looked at it and he's like, what is this? I was like, oh, I need you to sign it for the teacher. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, I got to hand it in. He's like, hand it in where? I was like, college. He's like, you're in college right now? I was like, yeah. And he was like, it was kind of this like ridiculous, like, what the fuck? You're like, and it blew his mind. Like, you're technically like in class right now. I'm like, yeah, man, isn't it good? And like,
cool as shit, right?
Yeah. So, so the school did like, help me out big time.
Yeah.
And I was able, I ended up graduating, but later on, I did eventually stop for a little while because it was too busy and I was like traveling too much and doing all that stuff. So
right.
I did take some time off from school, but yeah, I did that, and then I eventually went back later after the show was over and all that. But yeah, it was wild.
That's cool. So you're touring with Dunn.
Yeah,
doing the touring thing. You're living like a rock star. You know what I mean? You're partying, doing all that.
Yeah,
having a great time.
Yeah, pretty heavy.
Yeah,
that stuff. yeah.
Yeah, man. I imagine.
Yeah, it was wild, man. I totaled a couple cars, but the one like,
What's the nicest car you've ever totaled?
Nicest? There wasn't anything nice. I mean, it's like a
98 Civic.
It was a 98 Saturn.
Oh, I almost called it.
Yeah. Yes, it was a 98 Saturn, a beautiful, nice, like gray. But no, yeah, I was driving home and 3 times the legal limit and slid off the road, hit this tree and went up the tree, flipped backwards, jammed it under a guardrail. I smashed the steering wheel with my face, broke my face. Didn't have a seatbelt on, so I woke up on the roof of the car because it was upside down. Glass everywhere in me. I had split my leg open, face is bleeding like hell. I broke my orbital and my nose, and then I crawled out. And like always, Bam always laughs because I crawled out and I was all fucked up. I was like 3 times the legal limit and just hammered on drugs, all that. Like, and I looked and I was like, well, I gotta flip this fucker over so I can get home. And like, I kept trying to like and I was like, and I was so fucked up. Then I was like, nah, I gotta walk. So I started to walk, but then I was losing too much blood. So I passed out on the side of the road, like probably about a quarter mile up from the accident. And I was just laying there in this pool of blood, just laying there. And then eventually, because this was like 3 a.m. So I'm back in the woods in Glen Mills, and then some like milk truck came or whatever, and the 1950s.
I was literally but it was somebody in like a white hat and a white. Like, holy shit.
She's like, what the hell? But
glass milk everywhere.
Yeah. She just keeps dropping them. But yeah. But yeah, so he like noticed the car, I guess, called the cops. They found the registration to find what it was, but while that happened, my mom worked at Glen Mills Schools, and I was not too far from there. So they do these rounds to make sure that the kids like didn't try to escape.
Oh, no shit.
And one guy in the van found me on the side of the road, put me into the van, brought me back to my mom's. I show up at my mom's like a full fucking horror movie. For my mom, my sister, bleeding, like covered.
Just at this point, you've been bleeding for what, like a couple hours now, right?
Yeah, I'm just laying there, like I'm covered, like in blood. And they're freaking out. So then the cops show up like kind of right after that. And instead of waiting for an ambulance, they just rushed me to the hospital.
Wow.
And then I didn't have internal bleeding or anything, so that was good. And I had to have like I had like 3 plastic surgeries to fix my face. But then they
did a great job.
I know. As I always say, like, my nose wasn't always this flat, and they're like, yeah, it was. All right. But no, they stitched up my leg and whatever, and I got a DUI and possession and all that stuff, and then kind of did that, swear it off, I'll never drink and drive again, and then time went by and I drank and drove again, and I totaled another car, and I crashed into because like. maybe I'm not a great driver, but I mean, I have no wrecks sober.
Yeah.
But when drunk, I drink till full blackout. I go fucking wild.
Yeah.
So
Same
like,
here.
when I got in this Maxima that I had that I got from Jess, and I pull up and I just smashed into this truck, like the tow hitch thing, you know, and didn't fuck up his car at all, but completely crumpled the whole front of my car, and it was like fucking dragging shit, and you could hear like wah, wah.
Yeah.
So I like pull off, park it, go pass out of my buddy's house. It was like a block up, and then the next day, my buddy and I get in the car and drive it to the dealership. It was all fucking like it could barely drive.
I can't believe it was still
just
moving.
like, it was like dragging shit down the highway, like sparking and shit, and then like pull it in, and it was like, hey, I need a new car. they're like, what the fuck? You know, like I was like, yeah, you can keep this one. I just need to get a new one because I couldn't let anybody know that I was drunk driving again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And luckily that guy's truck wasn't fucked up. So he just like, I'm fine. You just, dude, like sleep it off. And I was like,
wow.
And he left, and then the cops didn't come. So I could have got another DUI pretty easily there, but I didn't. And so I parked it and then slept it off and then drove it back. Then I go in and like, I get a brand new car and just drove away. I go over to my parents' house, you know, pull up. It's like a family reunion dinner. Like my grandparents are all there, like everybody's there, and they're like, new car? I was like, oh yeah, man, been working hard. Like I earned it, you know? It's like, I'm a drunk who just keeps wrecking shit, you know? Like, and just, you know, denial. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And
especially if you can get that lucky where you can literally get rid of the destroyed car and get a new one, and then pull up and be like, look what I got. We're good. You know,
everything's
like,
good. Why are your eyes so bloodshot? What?
You look like you're a zombie from 28 Days Later. Are you all right? Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I got my trusty cocaine right here in the pocket. We'll be fine. Yeah, so you know, it just kind of the drinking and drugging stuff was spiraling at the beginning of like that. That was happening all throughout. And then it got much darker like after the Viva La Bam time and stuff. But yeah, you know, but again, it was like it's not like one or the other, you know. It wasn't just dark and or it wasn't just great, you know. It's all mixed together. It's
intertwined.
It's all kind of happening at once. But so there's some really incredible, great memories, and there's some pretty dark shit in there too.
Yeah, I mean, did you ever expect your life to kind of go in that direction, you know, in terms of
I definitely no. I always laugh at that because like, it's like how could you'd be a real asshole if you thought, you know,
you create this whole like,
I just assumed that I'm so awesome and but no, like you could never know that. I mean, I think, you know, there were some signs there that BAM skateboarding would turn into professional skateboarding, but how would you know that like all of the friends and everybody would end up like being on the show together and all that happening? Like you could never predict any of that.
The stars aligning the way they did is pretty insane, for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, it kind of was like you said, like once MTV started, it just kind of became this like runaway train that like went wild, and it was a lot of fun and a lot of amazing stuff. And I wouldn't change it for a thing, but there were times in there where I was pretty bitter and angry about certain things and like, and hating like Hollywood. They just kind of rip you off, beat you up, tear you apart. And you're like, I was a fucking 19-year-old kid. I didn't know any of this shit. And they would manipulate you and tell you, well, you don't deserve this because you don't know that. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. They're using me to fucking make money. Give me some of that. You know?
You're like, bringing me out here.
Yeah. I think it's like that Adam Sandler thing here. He's like, I got this jar on top of my fridge that has money in it. I like to put more money in it. That's where you come in. You know, like, and that's kind of the thought that you had was like, your friends would watch out for you, certain things like this. And you learn the harsh realities of life of like, only you are going to watch out for you. Nobody's worried about you. You got to do it. You got to take care of that. And it's not that I didn't. I tried to have lawyers, tried to have agents, and then they would strong arm you, manipulate you, turn you. Well, then we don't need you. See you. Fuck you. And so there was a lot of times that I was bitter about a lot of that shit. And it was like, and you realize like your ego gets involved. Obviously, everyone has an ego regardless of who you are or what you're doing. And sometimes it's out of control, you know, like the id and super ego, or like,
Yeah, I mean,
your ego's just trying to balance those two. So like,
yeah,
so at
hell yeah.
some point it gets out of balance, and okay, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm also just trying to fend for myself and figure this out. And then they're like, well, we don't need you. And you're like, well, fuck, it's such a chew you up and spit you out, because
Yeah.
you're like, I do want to be a part of it. I was having a great time, but you're kind of wrecking it with like not, you know, being fair about what
You're not really
people deserve.
hiding the fact that you're a piece of shit, and you're kind of just throwing me to the side now.
Yeah.
And this is in your 20s, right? I mean, you're
Yeah, early 20s.
Like,
yeah.
That's already tough trying to find yourself and
Yeah,
trying to find your identity.
And then you're like, hey, I heard everybody's got millions of dollars. Like, could I have some? And then they're just like, well, yeah, go talk to Kevin. And you go over to Kevin. Kevin's like, yeah, go talk to Mike. And then you talk to Mike, and Mike's like, oh, Tony will help. He'll hook you up. And then you get to Tony, you're like, there's no talk to Mike now. And now I got to go back to Kevin. Where the fuck's the money? You know, and that's kind of the way they do it. They just run you around, and you don't know what the fuck
you're
to
lost
believe.
and you give up.
And you have like a manager trying to do it or this, and then the manager gets like, well, man, they said like they're going to offer you that, and if you don't want it, then you don't do it. And then you're like, all right. And so some of those things kind of can put you in a place where you get bitter.
Yeah.
You know, when you're watching everybody else like, oh, I just bought a house and just did, and you're like, what the fuck? You know, and again, that stuff is all good because it is what it is. You know, I got to be a part of something really cool, and I didn't get rich from it, but I got to experience a lot of cool things, and you know, and I wouldn't change it, you know, because it's kind of defined what I chose to do with the rest of my life. You know, I went into the camera work after that, and like got into the cinematographer's union, and did a lot of cool stuff behind the camera. And again, it showed me that it was possible to do that, which, like being a kid from Westchester, Pennsylvania, where most people are like software salesmen or like pharmaceutical sales, or like, or you're like a carpenter or whatever. It's very like, true. You know, you're like, oh, I could do something in the arts and like make a living doing it. Oh, that's awesome. And it showed me that was possible. So
yeah, that's really cool.
So then I was able to find that way into that after, but you know, like in between there, like a pretty dark stuff, got pretty heavy into drugs and drinking, and I was a pretty manipulative liar. Like I would tell my friends like, oh, I hate cocaine. Like I hate that. And I'm over there like sniffing heroin and cocaine together, and like I'm mixing like meth shit. And like people were like, and they come when they found that out, they was like, really, dude? I'm like, yeah, dude, I was such a shade ball. Like just lying to all of you.
I'd tell you whatever you need to hear, and I would run over the corner and do what I want to do.
And like I could smile pretty good. So I would be like, hey, and everything's good. And then just sneak around. I'd be in like fucking crack house. I was like smoking like freebase shit with people. Like, and it's just like, what? That's what you're doing? I'm like, yeah, dude. I was just meeting like whack jobs. And like, what would happen is like, I'd be on tour with CKY, or I'd be on tour with like DJs and things. And they'd be like, where the fuck did you go, dude? And like, I wouldn't show up to the bus, and I'd be in like a different state. I've had this happen multiple times. I'd be like, I got in the car with somebody that just had the right drugs, and then I ended up at some crack house, and I don't know how the fuck that, you know, and it's just like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you know, like, and it just, you know, it was fun. And it just, it got crazy. Wow. And you know, and then like I said, I would put on a good front and try to like make it look like, hey, just the good old American kid here, just, you know,
the dream.
And I think, you know, when I look back on a lot of it, I was trying to numb some of the pain of certain things, and physically, emotionally, mentally, all that stuff, and you know, and it just took hold of what it does, and you know, I always thought about like PSAs for drug use, where like they're like, you know, when we were kids, it's like, here's your brain on drugs, and like, you're just swan diving into an empty pool, kid. And like, that is like, I wanted to do one that's just like, hey man, drugs are awesome. And then they're just like, what? And it's like, yeah, it's fucking cool, and it's fun, and it feels good, and it's awesome. And then it gets a hold of you and fucks your whole fucking life up. But you don't lie to me that I'm going to take it and swan dive into like, tell me the real thing. Right. It sneaks up on your ass.
Be straight with me here.
And it's fun, and it feels good, and it's exciting, and you feel a part of, and you really like, feel like, you know, the life of the party, and you do all these cool
you get
things.
this confidence
Yeah.
boost, and
And you really enjoy it. And then it turns on you, and then it gets dark, and then that's all you want to do. And then you isolate.
You at a crack house somewhere. And,
yeah. Yeah. And
it's like that, what's that Tim Meadows movie with John C. Reilly? Who's like, is that cocaine?
Dewey Cox.
No, man, it's great. You know, like,
yeah,
it makes everything better.
Yeah, like that is probably the most realistic, because it does do that, and then it gets bad. But like, it isn't just like, I remember being so afraid of cocaine when I was a kid because of things like that.
Yeah.
And then when I did it with like a buddy that I trusted, then I was like, oh, this is nothing. What the hell? Oh, it's kind of cool. Oh, I kind of like it. And then, you know, and then you're like, and then you're just all of a sudden doing tons of it, and like whatever. And it's
You're
like,
on your way.
it's no big deal. And same thing, like when heroin showed up, it was like, oh, it was supposed to be cocaine, but all they had was heroin. And you're like, I guess. And then you like snort a little of that, and then you're like, get sick, you know, and then you're like, and then they're like, no, but if you get sick the first time, like you won't the next time, and then you don't the next time, you're like, oh, this is kind of good. I like that. And then it was like, it's a little too mellow, but if I put a little Coke on it, on top of it,
You start making your own cocktail.
Yeah. And then, you know, and then and then you end up doing that. And for me, ultimately, the worst drug was alcohol, because that led me to, I'll do anything you got.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, always loved that.
All inhibitions go down.
Like marijuana is the gateway drug. Like, nah, alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, for me, weed is like, it's a gateway drug into eating too many Oreos. But like, alcohol is like, I will sleep with this prostitute.
Yes.
Smoke crack with her after. And then, you know,
alcohol is a gateway to literally every worst decision of your life. It's not even just a gateway drug to other drugs. It is like you just said, like, it's literally like, yeah, but I feel like I could probably climb the side of this building, punch my way into this window.
Oh, yes. It convinced you of that.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Or like, I just be like, I can definitely go over there and fight those 5 guys right now. You know
I'm going to win.
Yeah. Like, it's a gateway to everything that's the worst when you can't handle your shit.
Oh, 100%. You know, and it'll numb you up too if you're feeling like life's a little rough, you know. And you know, and that's how I lived for a long time.
So when for you, I mean, at this point, you know, you're flying high and also just crashing out, as the kids say on the streets.
Oh yeah, I've been hearing that a lot lately. That's the deal.
People crash out all the time.
Yeah.
They're crashing out everywhere.
That is like putting it lightly for me. I mean, there's so many wild stories. Like I said, you end up in these crack houses, but like, I would, you know, have scenarios where we're in the Viper room. The one time I remember, like, so Jackass like kind of just started, and this would be like name dropping, but it was like, all right, like, Ben Stiller was at the one like premiere thing, and then we're going over to the Viper room, and Drew Carey's at the table, and then, you know, just a bunch of like named people are all sitting there, and I'm drinking, and like I was getting hammered, and I always had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about famous people. I was like, fucking who gives a shit?
Who are you?
Who the
fuck are you?
Yeah, because I remember like, you know, Bam's at the table, and he's like, dude, you know, like it's, you know, it's like, I guess it was like Andy Dick, Ben Stiller, there's a bunch of people there. He's like, dude, you got to like slow down with the drinking. And I was like, who the fuck are they? Who gives a fucking shit? You know, like in my mindset was like, nobody's better than anybody else. I still feel that way in life. I still feel very much of like, you know, I have a job now with this corporate thing where like there's there's like people and there's tears, and I'm like, it's tough because it's all ego-based stuff, and you're like, dude, nobody's better than anybody. Nobody's more important. And I've been fortunate in life to work with some people that are, quote unquote, very important, and they usually are the ones that are down to earth.
Right,
and the ones that are in the middle of the road who think they're important are the ones that are real dumb dudes. You know. Yeah. But at this point, it was that, and Bam's like, you gotta slow down, and I was like, I'll fucking show him, you know. And I just kept doing shots, so drunk and like just obnoxious as fuck with all these like people, and I ended up like falling down the steps at the Viper room, like into that little basement like bar thing, and then the bouncers are like, all right, this dude's gotta go. So they pushed me out into like, you know, I don't know if they pushed me, but they escorted me out. And I went out that back door, the side there, and I don't know what happened, but I woke up in the middle of like the morning, probably like 4 or 5 in the morning. And I'm like, I wake up and I'm just in these rolled up red carpets, like inside of it. And I remember like going, huh. And I was like just in there, like barely breathe. I was all
Like the red
sweaty.
carpets are like rolled up next to you, like
No,
around you?
no. They're rolled up, and I'm somehow under them,
Oh my God.
like in them, like, and I like there's like a little space, and they're like rolled on, and they're stacked up like a pyramid.
So you most likely crawled into the
That's
red
what
carpet
I'm
rolled up.
assuming happened.
Wow.
That I crawled in there,
Or somebody rolled you up, which is a funny visual as well.
Yeah. I assume like it's
Look
like
at this
in the
jackass, rolled up.
Sopranos. Yeah, like in Sopranos when that dog goes under Christopher's, like he must have crawled under there for warmth. Like, and it's like that's like what I think I did in the red carpets, like crawled under there from warmth.
That was a great impression.
And
good.
and so I wake up, but it was like a panic because I'm like, because you're just trapped in there, and I'm all claustrophobic as hell. So I was like, whoa, and I just like scoot out. I get out, and I'm like, wow, the fuck did I end up here? I'm in some parking garage where there's like random red carpets, and I'm like, I don't know how I got here, where I'm at, like, 'cause I couldn't remember. I was blacked out when I left the Viper Room. I didn't even know I was at the Viper Room.
Right.
And yeah, so I walk out of this parking garage and I'm like, I don't know where the fuck I am, like, because I sort of was like, I had been to LA a few times at that point, and I didn't really know. So then I found like the 7-Eleven and there was no cell phone. So I had to like 1-800 collect my brother. And I was like, wait, where's Darren live? Like Darren's the singer of CKY. And, and I'm like, where's he live? He's like, dude, he lives in Orange County. I was like, where's that? He's like, it's fucking far. And I was like, oh, and so I took $170 cab ride down to,
God.
and this is like 2001, and I get down there. I remember like I get down there and I'm all pissed off because I'm still like drunk and fucked, and I'm missing a sock, and and I walk in and I kick the door like open. I'm like, what the fuck, and then everyone's like, fuck you, dude. I'm like, what? And then like I had totally turned on me because I was trying to go in there and be mad at everybody for leaving me behind. And then they're like, dude, you fucking were so drunk, you fucked up the whole table, knocked over all the shit, you fell down the thing.
Drew Carey was pissed.
Yeah. They threw you out, and then we couldn't fucking find you, so we're calling hospitals, police, trying to find you. We have no idea where the fuck you were. We're freaking out, like you're just lost in fucking, in Hollywood, in West Hollywood or wherever. And I was like, oh, and like it just dawned on me, like I'm the asshole, And I learned a very important lesson, and my sponsor will say that to me all the time, like if everybody else is the asshole, you're the asshole.
Yeah.
And you're like,
amen to that.
Man.
That one hits hard for me. And a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yeah, because you're like, I definitely had the fingers pointed at everyone. And shit, it is me.
We'll be right back. You know that one beanie you reach for every cold morning? The one that somehow feels like a hug and a caffeine boost to your confidence at the same time? Well, yeah, mine's from the Rethreadery. Beth started this Philly shop with nothing but a sewing machine and a belief that fashion could be creative, sustainable, and full of second chances. Everything they sell, from recycled apparel to handmade home goods, has a story stitched into it. So, if you're looking for something that's cozy, conscious, and made with a ton of heart, check out the Rethreadery. Progress, not perfection. One recycled treasure at a time. Head to therethreadery.com. Welcome to the library of Daniel Bradley, a place where horror and humor share a cigarette under flickering neon lights. Each month, I open the doors to new twisted tales, from haunted diners to Easter bunnies with substance issues, and things best, left under the carnival tent. If you like your stories with a side of dark laughs and a little emotional bite, pull up a chair. Join me at patreon.com/Daniels666time for exclusive stories, art, and behind-the-scenes madness. The Library of Daniel Bradley. Different tiers for different fears. You know those places that just feel like a deep breath the moment you arrive? Well, that's Haven on Adelon Lake, my sister's cabin tucked away in Cape May Courthouse, right on the water. It's quiet, cozy, and somehow exactly what you need, whether that's a weekend to write, reset, or just sit on the porch and watch the world slow down. With 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and room for 4, it's the perfect little getaway to recharge. You can find Haven on Adalum Lake on Airbnb, Vrbo, and just about anywhere you book your next stay. However, if you head to the actual website, havenonadalumlake.com, use the code LittleDan to get 10% off your next booking. If you're ready for a little stillness, go find your piece of calm on the lake. Welcome back.
And this day and age, if you say this stuff, you're like, oh, what a pig. And it's like, yeah, I was, and I learned from it. And I don't know. Sometimes you get a little nervous if you look at all the social media and news nowadays. It's like, oh, I guess we're not allowed to learn in life. You're not allowed to fuck up and then fix things.
Yeah.
But that's, that was part of my story is I lived like a real asshole and very self-centered, very selfish, not considering how it's affecting other people around me. And that's what I did. And
that's kind of part of, like you just said, part of life, you know what I mean? You go through that shit, you see that and you feel that and you're like, oh God. And then it helps build that character that you should have had probably, but you just didn't know any better, or you didn't, you weren't put in a weird position. So
exactly. And I think the other part is it was being encouraged, and I was just like, just loving the attention of it and just kind of going for it. And it was always, the feeling was like with our group was like, dude, the drunker you get, the funnier the story is. This happens and that happens. And so, it just kept going like that. And went even further into like darkness of like just starting to like isolate from friends and people and family and just kind of,
slowly the drugs were pulling you inward.
And then now all of a sudden I'm around a bunch of people just trying to get drugs. Like, why am I around these young ass people? I don't even know who the fuck they are, but trying to get drugs and just trying to, and it's like, it just got to a place where it was like, fuck, this is terrible.
So for you, when did it, when did you hit that bottom where you're like, shit, I guess I gotta.
Well, it's funny because, like I always talk about, for me, like my bottom, like I hit the bottom and then skid along it for a good while. Like, there were things that should have been the bottom, but they weren't. And for me, ultimately, like it was like, I fucked up my finances, had to sell my house, had to get rid of the car, had to like borrow money, had like credit card debt, all this, like I fucked up all that stuff. And that was like, I was justifying and figuring it out. And I started getting this job at a bar and restaurant and it was like, I remember like I could go make a ton of money on a weekend for an appearance thing. And then I started working at this restaurant and I did a lunch and I made $41. And I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with $41? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, I get a pack of cigarettes. Like, what the fuck? Because I was used to getting like 5 or 10 grand at a pop, like to be able to just pay whatever off and get these things. And like, it had all kind of dried up.
Yeah.
At that point. And this is like 2009.
I was going to say, with the opportunities, weren't getting as many phone calls at that point.
Yeah.
I mean,
opportunities were less. And, I had a falling out with Bam and some other friends. And, and I was just in a place where like I kind of was bitter and hated people.
Yeah.
And I can tend to do that. I think, with addiction or what it is, like what I've learned about it is that it wants to get me alone. It wants to fucking take me out. If I isolate, then it has an opportunity to do that. And that's kind of how my brain's wired.
Yeah.
Things will be like good or in this situation. And then you're like, how can I fucking burn this bitch?
How can I fucking self-sabotage this shit real quick? Yeah.
Yeah. And I do that, not always, but I mean, but I can see it in myself. I can see that happens. And I'm, through the program, I'm, continually learning, but like, learn how to like spot that when that's happening and try to kind of, rectify the situation or whatever. But it got to a place where it was not about, it wasn't really about like material things or any of that stuff. It wasn't about any of that stuff. It wasn't about the car wrecks. It wasn't about like friendship. It wasn't about any of that. It just got to this place where like, I always say, and then whether it's cheesy or not doesn't matter. I got to a place where I was like just kind of emotionally bankrupt. Like I didn't really want to live. I didn't want to actually physically kill myself, but I had a lot of those thoughts of suicide and these things like, just fuck, I should just die. Like, fucking end it. The most selfish thought, really, because it was like, well, I got what I wanted out of life. Fuck off, and that's sort of the mindset we all had at a time. It was just like, what do you want to be, an old fart?
I was just saying, at that point, you feel like, all right, well, I already reached the highs of the highest of the highs with life right now.
Yeah.
What the fuck's the point?
Right. And God, how wrong I was about that. Having lived, longer, and becoming a father has been the greatest thing in my life. But at that point, it was like, yeah, I'm fucking done, man. See ya. Take it down. Take this bitch down, and that's where it was at. But I got to that place where I'm like, I don't want to drink anymore, but I'm just drinking. I don't want to do drugs anymore, but I'm just doing them.
Yeah.
And all right, cool, I'm going to stop. And then it was like, no, you're not. And you're just going to keep doing this. And I didn't know any other way but to do that.
Yeah.
Because I'd get all this anxiety, I just want to alleviate that.
Would you stop for a period of time and then be like,
I've tried that.
Go back.
I've tried those. That never lasts.
Yeah.
I could do the like cold turkey thing, try to do it for a little, last a week or so. And
I would quit drinking for like a month.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, okay, well, now I know I can quit drinking for a month. And then I would just go back even harder, like with a vengeance.
Yeah. And then you wake up with like just remnants of bags and you're probably like, what the hell happened? It's 4 days later, and that's like how it would go for me. Yeah. And then, I just, I kept having those moments of just emptiness, really, as a person.
It's brutal.
And feeling like there was no reason to do anything. And
are you alone at this point? I mean, you were just on your own. Like you said, you burned bridges and you were
kind of, I was working at that bar thing. You could just steal their booze and drink there.
Yeah.
And I feel terrible because the owner was such a fucking rad dude that helped me out in the time. But you're justifying it and being like, well, everybody else is doing it. Like, I'm not, this isn't out of
you can justify anything
him, but it's like, it totally was. But doing that stuff, finding people that work there that do the things you want to do, and then hanging out in the parking lot with them. And they're like, why is he hanging out with that person? And you're like, huh? I don't know. She smokes crack. She does.
I had no idea.
So, that's just kind of the shady guy I was. And and then my part of my story was I had this really great moment where my brother, he's like a physician, and his anesthesiologist was like, hey, my son's like a big fan of your brother, Jackass and all that stuff, and it's his birthday, he's like going to be 18 and or something, like 16 or 18 or whatever. And because there was two brothers, and he's like, they would love to meet him. Like, their friends are going to be there. Like, do you think he would maybe come out to dinner? And I was like, and my brother's like, would you want to go out to dinner with this? And I was like, yeah. And of course, I want to make it look like, sure, I'd love to hang out with the fans. I'm like, they're buying the booze?
Right.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
So we go there, and then, order a beer. I'm drinking a beer, and I'm sitting there like talking to the anesthesiologist's wife, and I'm just like crushing beers, and I was just talking to her, and she just it was so weird. She was a complete stranger, but understood me more than anybody I've ever talked to.
Wow.
And it was like, what the hell? I was kind of just like, oh man, this lady, she just gets it. I don't understand what this is. And we just really connected, and I was sharing heavy things. It's not hard for me. I talk to everybody. I'm a pretty open book. I'll share, too much with everybody.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of who I am. And sometimes you're like, oh, he's an overshare. I'm like, yeah, that's just who I am, dude. I've tried to sort that out and try to fix that. And it's just programmed.
Right.
So we start talking, and we're just connecting that way. And dinner ends, go home. Next day, the anesthesiologist calls my brother and was like, hey, my wife was she just wanted to extend to Chris, like, if he ever needed somebody to talk to. And I had kind of been at this place with the drugs and the alcohol where I was like throwing those foxhole prayer things like, God, if there is a God,
Right.
I need help, and I don't know how to fucking do this. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to take her up on that. And I went over to her house and we just sat and talked. And she goes, do you want to know what your issue is? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, you're a drug addict and alcoholic. I was like, I know, but I got like all these other problems and all this other stuff that I need to sort out. And then she said, like, if you sort out your number one problem, everything else will fall into place. And I remember being like, oh man, like, fuck, okay. I didn't know what it meant to be an alcoholic and an addict. I've always just said I was, but I was like, what does that mean?
Right. To actually like look at it and have to think about doing the work of digging that out of that.
In my mind too, like when I was drinking and drugging and all the TV stuff was like, well, yeah, but I'm like succeeding.
Right.
So what are you talking about? And then as it got dark and I wasn't and all the things were falling apart, it was like, well, this is how it happens. You have that high, but then the lows happen and the real thing
everything
is
else goes away and you still have that addiction.
Yeah. And so at that point, we went down to a meeting and I sat in this meeting with her and she was like, just listen to like what they're saying and don't try to like find the differences. Don't try to compare yourself out of here. Like just listen to if there's anything you can relate to. And like people started sharing and I was like, fuck, like, oh my God, this is like exactly how I feel. And then it started to dawn on me like, oh, you're an alcoholic. Like that's why you and I got each other. And that's how you knew, because you just spotted your own and you're just sober and then you just talked to me. And like now being sober, I could see I could see it so much. But at the time I was just like, this is crazy. This lady knows me like exactly. She's just like pinpointing every fucking thing. And then I sat in that meeting and I like ended up crying like and just kind of breaking down and fully getting it like this is it, and we went back to her house and and it was kind of like get her out. It was like, oh man, thank you, like I can't wait to start this journey and all this stuff. And like I was like so vulnerable and and all that kind of feeling. And then I just got in the car and immediately hit the pipe, started drinking and just taking a pill and shit because I like couldn't handle how vulnerable and how
raw you were
and everything. And I just immediately went back to it. And then I went on a bender for like 3 weeks and I ended up in San Antonio drunk and high and all this crazy thing. And I was dating this girl at the time. And apparently then they videotaped these girls naked on top of me, some weird thing. Like it was like some bar appearance. And I called her and they were like, hey, I'm just heading back. She's like, yeah, just heading back. And I was like, what? And they like put the video on YouTube apparently. And then the cousins saw it. And then they're like, this is the guy you're dating? And then it was like, what? And then it was just like, oh, fuck. So then I was like, man, like I'm just hurting everybody that I love, and all and like, and it kind of, and then it just kind of like sobered you up a little bit. And I remember like the last beer I had was an Amstel Light on my buddy's back porch. And that was on this Thursday. That was 16 years ago.
Wow.
And Wednesday it was 16 years because Thursday is my first day sober. But
this Thursday will be your anniversary.
Yeah.
So, congratulations, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's wild that it's been 16 years already. That's crazy. But yeah, I just at that point then decided like I really wanted to do this, and it was a hard road, getting sober and doing that. But I stayed super committed to it and just like immersed myself in the program and just did that and met some incredibly amazing people along the way that helped me and showed me how to do it. And I became willing to take direction and listen to somebody else and then admit maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Right.
And that was probably the hardest thing because being a kid that was like 20 years old that got on TV, I was like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm doing it all right, motherfuckers.
You're on fucking TV. Yeah. I'm on TV.
Yeah. And I don't think I was overtly like saying that out loud or whatever, but I had that thought in my head that it was like, dude, you're like a fucking accountant. What are you talking about? And the truth is then later you're like, damn, it'd be nice to be a fucking accountant because
Yeah.
there's some stability there, but at the
Great
time,
benefits, probably.
yeah. But at the time you're like, this arrogance or whatever. And so, and then, I started on that road and it's been amazing.
Wow.
And there's been some serious fucking challenges in life,
Yeah.
throughout that. But I haven't had to drink or do drugs over it, and it's pretty cool. And
It's incredible.
And it can be painful as fuck at times, like I said, I'm moving right now and it's stressful and it's all those little things, but
Yeah.
it's like, it's nothing compared to like some of the real stuff that I've gone through.
Yeah.
In sobriety. And so like these kind of little moments, you're like, this sucks, but it's going to be over soon. So
Right.
like, I'll just keep, doing my deal with my people that help me through. And,
Yep.
and then I get to help other people get through it.
That's cool. That's really cool.
That's cool. And, but yeah, some of the like dark stuff is obviously when Ryan died. That, I don't know. It's one of those things that, it goes in waves. Like you're always affected by it forever. And when it first happened, I could feel like, I know we all felt like, it's just, you felt like an appendage is like ripped off, and I remember the day that it happened because I was probably like a mile from the site, like when it went down, because then everybody was like texting and calling, and my buddy Aaron Ashcraft, like he is the one that was on the phone that I talked to that told me. And I just remember like kind of going numb at that point. I was sober.
How sober were you at the point? Like how long in?
A year and 9 months.
Okay.
And then I remember like just full fucking numb. So then I drove over to Jess Margera's house, and like, I didn't even ring the doorbell. I think I was just standing there, like at the door. I thought I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't remember. And like, I remember like when he died, like it was like 3 months of like, I don't remember. Like it was like just a
Heavy fog.
Yeah. I don't remember really anything, but like just being lost in that feeling of like my fucking brother just died, like I went through so much with that dude in life. So many things in terms of like the TV shit, but long before the TV shit, like just growing up with him. But then like you sort of get bonded with Bam and Brian and Brandon and Ray and all them, like in that, because they're the ones in this area that went through that experience together, and it's different than most normal experiences. So then you kind of relate to each other on that heavy level. And like he always watched out for me and was like a big brother in that sense of that, going through those experiences.
I remember you said when you were on tour with him, he pretty much took you under his wing.
Yeah. And just he was 3 years older, so he always knew a little more.
Yeah.
And so like, just so lost. I remember like I vaguely remember it, but I was just standing there like looking at like a tree or something outside of Jess's house, and then Jess opened the door and he's like, Raab, and I was like, yo, and then he's just like, yo, and I just remember being like, and we just kind of fell into each other.
Yeah.
But it was just that. And then Bam came back because he was like in Arizona and he just got back, and like we were still kind of on the outs a little. And I remember just he walked into the garage and we just fucking grabbed each other, and it was like, that feeling of like kind of those things in life that when you have all that bullshit that you're like mad about or whatever, like when like someone that you're so close to dies, it just sort of all evaporates, and you just realize like it's fucking
stupid.
Yeah. And like life is not guaranteed, and there's just all that kind of deep stuff that happens real quick, and no words need to be said. It just erases that stuff. Like, it's not to say there isn't still difficulties in relationships. It's just to say that you realize what matters, and all the history and the amazing times and all that stuff. We're so fucking lucky to have had that. And, and so losing Rye was like, man, that was massive early on in being sober and trying to navigate a life without numbing that.
I mean, that's honestly, without a massive loss like that, excuse me, sobriety already is tough because you have to feel everything. You have to think everything, and there's nothing you can do. You're like, okay, I'm just in this now. Like, this is just what I do now.
Yeah.
So it's already like you're already taking on a lot that you're not, especially after you've been numb for so long. So to have a loss like that hit you, I mean, it's
there's this old head that always says that, like, I like my pain like I like my whiskey, straight up, and you're like, all right, and I get it, because you're like, yeah, it just fucking hurts.
Just take it on, man.
Yeah, and then
that's all you do.
Yeah, and I did go get like grief counseling and understand like the stages of grief, and starting to talk with somebody about that, because I was like, the program stuff is rad.
Yeah.
And it's my foundation, and it's stuff that I'll always do, but like I needed some extra like knowledge on what I was going through and whatever. And and it's a very public weird thing too, because I went to, we're at the funeral, and then like the news guy is like, hey, Chris Raab himself, do you want to say something? I'm like, get the fuck away from me. Like, get out of here, dude. And it was like, well, we're just, and you're like, yeah, you're just trying to fucking profit off of somebody's death right now, asshole. You think I don't see that? Like, I'm in this business. I know what this is. Yeah. It's gross as fuck. Get out of here.
Vultures coming in here.
Yeah, and that's what it felt like. And dude, like, I'll always fucking love the pagans, because like they fucking came and set up shop right there at Rise service. And like West Baptist Church is trying to be a bunch of assholes, like, man, this guy lived a life for whatever. And and the pagans are like, you got to get through us first, motherfuckers. And I just fucking loved them forever for that. And it just felt like, yeah, people came and had your back, and like the real people that really understand life more than some judgmental fuck that's like, it's not to say that I'm not judgmental. I certainly am. We all suffer from it. But like, I try not to be like, hey, whatever you're doing, like, stop doing it. It's like, yeah, whatever, man. We all have our own path. We'll learn. We'll figure those things out. And I'm far from perfect. I do it at times too.
Yeah, sure. Same.
But at the same time, like, when it's all stripped away, it's like, who the fuck are you to decide? And that's like what I realize is like, I don't know, man. I'm certainly not qualified to really judge. I mean, I can walk around being judgmental for comedy's sake, I definitely do that. I'm like, look at this guy and his fucking, whatever, to try to be funny, but you realize, like, maybe shut the fuck up, because you don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe just ask a question or two instead of needling and diming him and being like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
Figure out why that's happening.
Maybe they're going through something.
Right,
but
exactly.
But again, I'm not the most altruistic, like, heartfelt person either. I have some of that, but yeah, I mean, for a cheap laugh, I'll throw anybody under that bus.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. Yeah, I just always, kind of had love for them for that, for they kind of protected that so that we could grieve Rye. And and then like, again, walking through that prepared me for some other things that were going to be a challenge, in sobriety. And when you and I first talked about doing this podcast, it was funny, because like it just reminded me, like, dude, when Rye died, we said some of the sickest fucking jokes, the most morbid, fucked up shit, just to laugh our asses through it, and that's kind of how we always did. And it's always
a form of therapy, man.
Yeah, and you always figured out, like, dude, he'd be doing the same shit, and it'd be making fun of it, because like Rye's one of the fucking wittiest, funniest dudes, and just like pull no punches, would just tell you shit straight to your face in a joke form, so you laughed, and then you couldn't argue it, and you're like, fuck, he's totally right, like, and sees it clear as day. And so that, we just had all these dark ass jokes, but I just kind of always appreciate all the friends that were there that helped kind of get me and others laughing again about it, when we lost him. And that's one of those things. Like, I have this this guy, Willie Perdue, he's this artist, and he like drew this thing.
Great name.
Yeah. He drew this this picture of Ryan and gave it to me, and I have it, and I put it like, it's like, now I just moved, so it'll be in my basement, but it was in this one like area that I had. And it's kind of one of those things where you'll see the photo, and like, you'll either get some good funny laughs and good memories, or you'll get sad, and that always will be there. And I mean, at this point, he's been gone for 14 years, and it's wild that it's been that long.
Yeah.
But still, like, he's, you know, always with us and
Yeah.
laughing. And I think the good thing about the social media shit is that they keep him alive, and like there's always photos of him. There's people that link you on there, and that it gives you a good memory.
Yeah.
You know, and that's cool. And I think that's pretty rad that like he did something in life that was so funny and so impactful that like it just like connected with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they will always like remember him like that. And that's rad, you know?
I mean, he came through like on the camera, especially in Viva La Bam. I remember watching, and he just seemed like a generally fucking funny dude, but also like a good dude. Like he just was like, you know.
The funny thing about it, like I remember when he passed away, like I was always laughing because I kind of love how, like, even if the person is like horrible, they're like, well, Kevin, he loved cars. You know, like they try to find something that's like good about it. And
loved a good oatmeal cookie.
Yeah,
that guy, you know?
yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's like he's the worst fucking person. But like with Ryan, I just remember thinking, like, as everyone, you know, was leaning into that, and I was like, dude, he was such an asshole, but like he was our asshole.
Yeah.
And that's why I loved him, because he was a fucking sarcastic dick. And you know, like, and that was the best part. Like, you like, don't act like he was just some sweetheart cuddling every kitten that walked by. You know, it was like the reality was he was a wisecracking fucking dickhead, and that's why I love that.
That's right,
You know, and you know, just kind of the reality of it, and instead of just this glazed version,
sugar coated version.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that was again a heavy part of sobriety, figuring out how to manage life and emotions and feelings and all that kind of stuff without some sort of escape, and then and then you know, navigating life after that. And just kind of, you know, like I moved back out to California after that and lived out there for a long time, and worked in the TV and film business again, but behind the camera, and met a lot of cool people and traveled the world again, and
nice.
did that sober, you know, so I got to really experience a lot of really cool stuff.
That's cool.
Traveling the world again, sober though this time.
Yeah.
Sort of really remembering all of it. It's not to take away from the drunken escapades, because I had a lot of fun doing that too, you know, and sometimes you hear...
It's kind of nice you got to do it both ways.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I feel very, very lucky for that. I mean, like, you know, some people will be like, my best day drunk is worse than my worst day sober. I'm like, not me. I had a fucking blast drunk.
Yeah.
You know, like, so like, I'm like, if I'm real about it, it's like, no, I've had some really amazing drunk times and travels. And
I always tell people,
awesome
I'm like, look,
things.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it and be like, look, I was just a mess all the time. Like, there were some phenomenal times when I was drunk.
Yeah.
And I will say I was hilarious at times when I was drunk. Yeah. For sure. You know, just eventually I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. And then everyone was like, okay, Dan. And I just kept going.
It's getting to be a little much, Dan. And that's what happened for me too, for sure. But yeah, I won't pretend like I didn't have a blast doing that too. But then I got to travel and do a lot of that, and you know, and then some more of the dark stuff is like, you know, I got married, had a kid, and then went through a divorce. And I don't really talk about that much, like in public settings or whatever. I just kind of went through it, and it was as awful as you think it could be. You know, and it kind of really checked my sobriety. It checked whether I had like the ability to bounce back from that. And the beautiful thing of being a dad is like, it's another like, I don't know how to say, like, it's like a built-in like get out of self situation. So like as an addict, and as a person in general, you know, a lot of times I learn that, like, you know, you stay in recovery a lot so that you kind of like, oh, I drank Kool-Aid. So you drink that and you think, oh yeah, we're going through this. It's like, well, everybody's going through that.
Right.
But to a little bit more of a heightened, you know, degree, I think when you're have the mind that's kind of, your mind's broken a bit. It's like, you know, I always relate it to like a scratched record. So like, it'll just go, and then all of a sudden it's just in that same rut over and over and over and over and over.
Like
and
that.
and I need to get it back onto the right thing.
Yeah.
And it's like unbeknownst to me that it's going to start skipping. And then it's skipping, and I'm like, huh, this sounds cool. And everyone's like, dude, it's skipping. And you're like, oh shit, get it back on, you know, and like I'm the last one to know that I'm like off.
That's
you
great.
know,
That's a great analogy. I love that.
so that, like, knowing that and doing that, like, the thing is, when you're a parent, like, you don't have the luxury of just ignoring that for a while.
Yeah.
You got to, like, get the fuck back up and figure it out, because there's somebody relying on you.
Yeah.
And that's been so amazing for me, for sobriety. And like, and not to just not, I'm not trying to make it about me, but I'm just saying, like, I'm so fucking lucky to be her dad,
Yeah.
and
It's awesome.
and it's been the greatest gift ever. And so, regardless of how dark, going through a divorce can be, and and how scary it is, and my whole life kind of changed all at once. I left my career, left where I lived, and came back to my old hometown, and then had to figure it out. Had to figure out what I was going to do to make a living.
Yeah.
Had to figure out.
I mean, thank God you were sober.
Everything. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
honestly, like,
and surrounded by a lot of really
big
awesome
thing.
people that were like, and that's like a thing that happens too, and not that I'm saying anything anybody doesn't know that went through the divorce, but like, when you go through that, like, you find out real quick who your people are.
Yeah.
It tells you real fast, and it's hurtful to know that some that you thought weren't.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, fuck. You're like, fuck and fuck. That hurts.
That hurts. Yeah.
And that becomes the reality. And then, but the best part of that is that you go, oh, these are my real people.
Right. Right.
These are the people that really care for me and really have my back no matter what. And that becomes clear. And then you can start to rebuild and start to really surround yourself with the people that, are right for you.
Yeah.
And I had this amazing thing happen. Like, my aunt, so my mom's sister, she's just kind of this rock and roll, awesome, like, hippie chick that, like, she grew up in, like, Woodstock time and, like, all that,
Yeah.
and just she was always so rad. Like, when we were growing up, she would, like, pull me aside and she's like, don't let any of them change you. Don't let them stop you from being who you are and stuff. And I just connected with her so much because I was, like, kind of a little punk rock kid.
Right.
Getting kicked out of schools, going to boarding schools, doing it. I was just that dude. And then we just always had, like, a kind of a, we were like kindred spirits in that way, and just connect on that level. And she was unfortunately dying from pancreatic cancer as I was going through my divorce. And I went up and I was visiting her. And I was, like, talking to her and just telling her about this and all the pain, and, like, she kind of opening up about that. And she was, like, very close to passing. And she just looked at me, and it was like the most simple shit in the world. And she was like, yeah, Chris, you're on the wrong boat. Those aren't your people. And I was just like, what? Fuck. Like, but it was so simple.
Yeah.
And so put so well. And I was like, fuck, I'm on the wrong boat. Like, those are not my people. And I've been surrounding myself with these people and trying to fit into it, and, like, peacocking and trying to be like, look, I am a decent person.
And wedge yourself in there and be like, I deserve to be here. I deserve to be here.
Yeah. And the reality was I was just on the wrong boat.
Yeah.
And like, and it was like so fucking crystal clear to me at that point. And it was like, damn, because I was doing that EMDR therapy stuff. And that was pretty rad, because, like, they do all, it's basically, I don't know how else to explain it. For me, I don't know the professional terms and all that shit, but the way I felt through it was almost like hypnosis in a sense. You're sort of going through this dreamlike state. You're creating these little characters that are your safe zones, and you're, like, trying to rewire your neural pathways so your blood flow in your brain will, like, kind of process this trauma that you went through in a different way and see it in a different way.
Wow.
And as I went through that, I had this experience where it was the boat thing, because she had kind of put that in my subconscious. And as I was kind of going through that, it was like I had this thing, I sort of floated through this wall. It was this weird thing. I was in this, like, traumatic situation with those people that had, like, I experienced that with, and then I just sort of, like, floated away from it into this, like, beach area. And then there was this boat where, like, they were, and, like, I just kind of looked at it and had to, like, it was, like, painful as fuck, but I just had to let go of it. And then I just, like, kind of went over to where I was supposed to be. and I didn't have to do anything. Like I remember, because there was this thought, like when I was with them, I was always like, please, I'm like, tap dancing to be respected.
Right.
And then I went over there and I just showed up, and everybody was like, fuck yeah, like so psyched for me to be there. And I'm like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And
I'm just here.
I'm just here. And that feeling that I had in that like EMDR session was like so fucking therapeutic.
Wow.
Obviously it's therapy, but it was so cleansing in a way that you were like, oh my God, okay, so it's supposed to feel like that when I'm with
That's
the
some
right
powerful
people,
shit, man.
and when I'm surrounded by the right people.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I went through the divorce, it made clear to me real quick who my people were and who weren't.
Right. Who the real ones were.
Yeah. And the ones I'm supposed to sort of be with, like what my boat was.
Yeah.
And so like it's become clear, like in those times. And I still, my radar is still off. I always like, I dated this girl one time, and she said this amazing thing to me that like, it always stuck with me. She was like, you're like a flower who just doesn't know how to close its lotus. Like you just open up to everybody, and probably shouldn't. And like the wrong people get to your vulnerable place, and then, and then you just get hurt, and then whatever. And it's like, part of that is kind of who I am. So I don't know, like I said earlier, I don't know that I'm going to change that.
Right.
But I can sort of see it a little quicker as to who's going to, do that. And I know that feeling from that EMDR thing. Like I know the feeling now of those types, and then the types that are the right.
Yeah.
And it's not to say I don't fuck up and still do it, but it's just to say, like,
it's a little more of a form of protection for yourself.
I'm more
too.
aware of it now. Like, whereas before I would sink that fucking boat, like, and now I'm learning that and seeing that. And
that's phenomenal.
And it's been crazy. And it's kind of the silver lining in a lot of that. Cause and to keep this as like a therapy session, it's like, man, I had to be in this position where I was the bad guy.
Yeah.
And that's not like how I saw myself, because I was like, dude, this is fucked, this whole thing. But I'm being pitted as the bad guy.
Yeah.
And it cleared my relationship with my dad, because my dad, when we were young, they split, and he's the bad guy. And what he did was wrong.
Right.
And he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
But ultimately is a good person, just fucked up. And I had to see, I was in that position, and then I had to see him for that. And I was like, holy shit. And it fucking like instantly relieved me of that resentment I had towards my dad.
Wow.
And so I was like, oh my God, fuck. I just been mad at this dude, and he's been trying to love me my whole life, and it was fucking gnarly, because it was like, oh my God. Like I talked to him, and then I had it out with him. I was kind of like, I need you to say this shit, because I need to get it off my chest. Like, and I kind of put him in the corner. I was like, I need you to admit this. And he did it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I always held that from you, man, because I didn't want to hurt you or hurt your mom, or I didn't want to say a bad thing. I didn't want to do this. And I didn't know how to approach it. And I thought I was protecting you. And I was like, the whole time I thought you were just not acknowledging it.
Right.
And then it was really, you were trying to protect me. It's like so fucked in my head, because I'm like, I saw it. This is my perspective of it, and this was your perspective of it. And then when that cleared out, it was like, oh my God.
It's just us now.
It was.
Yeah.
And our relationship's been amazing.
Wow.
And
that's incredible.
And it all happened because of the divorce, because I was now in that seat.
Wow.
And I saw like, holy shit, that's what that is.
That's
Holy
crazy.
Fuck.
That's insane.
So then, it totally healed my relationship with my dad.
Wow.
And just like instantly.
What a crazy thing to come out of a divorce.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, talk about a bright side. Like, that is incredible, man.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It was a silver lining of all that. I mean, there's so many of those moments of like that, because like that shit will clear things up for you quick.
Yeah.
Also,
I feel like it speaks to like not having regrets, you know what I mean, in terms of your choices and your marriage and stuff like that. Like, sure, like, yeah, fucking sucked, fucking hurts going through this shit for sure.
And some days I feel like some regrets for sure, but but in the moments where I actually am connected, to the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, like when I have those moments and I'm in a place where I'm not stressed out from the day and all this other bullshit, and just like, whatever, where I'm actually in a mellow spot, like just having a chat with you. It's
Yeah.
like the real reality of it is like, I wouldn't change any of it.
Yeah.
And like I said, being her dad has been the greatest gift of my whole life. Like,
Yep.
bar none. Like the fucking, like nothing compares to it at all. And,
Yeah.
and I've been pretty fortunate in life to have some pretty incredible experiences, like all of us. But I mean, for me, I only know my life. But when I look at all that, it's like, yeah, it all just sort of pales in comparison of being able to get to be her dad, because like, I knew this going in, but it still has blown my mind more and more. But like, I knew this going into becoming her dad was that I was like, I'd say this. I'm like, oh, that little girl's going to teach me way more than I'll ever teach her, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that has, she'll be 6 soon. And yeah, like
Wow.
by far that has been the thing. Like I might have taught her a thing or two, but for the most part, it's just been like, holy shit. Cause like when I became her dad, it was like, holy shit, there's a lot wrong with me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
and I kind of always knew this, but I wasn't willing to change it for anybody but you.
Yeah.
And then, you
Yeah.
know, and I think that's what happened was like, with her, it was like, oh, I need to get a hold of this. I need to
Right.
sort this out. I need to do that.
Right.
I need to, okay. And luckily I had
There's
the
still work to be
foundation.
done.
Yeah,
you know?
tons of work. And I had the foundation to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
And had the right people in the right places to help me kind of take a look at those things. And of course, I mean, you know, very, 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 very far from perfect, but like, but it just more reveals itself on a daily basis, you know, as her dad. And it's just been so cool to be able to do that and get to watch this little human become this awesome person. And she's so fucking rad. She's funny as shit and like, and just creative and like imaginative and just so inspiring and so rad. And I feel so fortunate to be your dad, and like, and that would not have come if it wasn't, you know, that would have not have happened in my life if it wasn't for her mom. Yeah. You know, so I had to come around to this place of like gratitude for her.
Right.
And it was hard, dude. Like, cause I was very hurt and angry and all these things. And then I came to this place of like, it was crazy. I just all of a sudden started writing gratitude lists for,
oh, wow,
for my ex-wife.
Your ex-wife.
And just being like, all right, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. And at first I was like, I'm grateful to be divorced. I'm grateful I don't have to deal with this shit. You know, like, and that was the gratitude list at first. But then it came around to like, oh, this is why like I loved this person. This is why I wanted to have a child with this person. This is why, you know, there's all these things that like started.
That's huge, man. That's huge to be able to sit down and do that too. Yeah. You know, again, I think it goes back to this being sober and feeling things again. Yeah.
Being sober and feeling. And also again, like my daughter is such a motivator because I'm like, I can't sit here hating your mom.
Yeah. I was gonna say that too. I was like, I can't imagine how much that must mean for your daughter too.
Like I'm not a great actor, but I would try to put on this like, no, she's great, but really I'm like, back and fuck, you know, like, and then they're like, huh? No, it's all good, you know, like, and she's just like, great. I feel the shitty energy you have, bud. Yeah. And so I had to just come to terms with that and be real with that and understand that and go, dude, like, you know, no matter how much it hurts, I gotta like, face it.
No, I mean, that's huge for a kid. I came from parents, they actually never got divorced. They just got separated. They never could get divorced. And it was rough for a while, for sure.
The judge was out that day, or what? Like,
no, my dad was a cop, so he was like, just made sure the judge was always gone. No,
yeah. Notary's not here. I don't know how we're gonna do this.
He's on a 7-month vacation, apparently. Yeah. No, I think they just generally didn't work together. Their story was crazy, but I think they just always had love for each other, but they just realized they could not be together.
Yeah.
So it was rough for a minute there. But they came together, and eventually I could feel the love between them, and I could see the love between them after a while. And it really brought so much more warmth to my life. You know what I mean? My daily life, going through life, not being like, fuck, all right, my dad's going to drop me off, my mom's going to pick me up, and I don't want them to see each other. I don't want them to yell at each other. You know what I mean? Like, there's a sense of just like, okay, even though they're not living together, and, you know, like, there's still a sense of like, all right, we're still a family. You know, we can still make this work.
Yeah. I just had this picture of you like just being this little kid in a car and just like, fucking fuck you, no fucking fuck you. Like, and that's just all, you're like just yelling. It's like if they see each other, they're gonna yell.
Yeah.
No, but
My dad's a cop, he's just shooting a gun in the air. Yeah.
fucking fuck, you know?
Man, what a conversation. There's just so much honesty, perspective, heart in this one that I did not want to rush it or really cut anything out. And I kind of struggled in terms of where to cut it off at for this part one. And I believe when Chris Raab started doing an impression of my parents screaming at each other, that felt like the natural stopping point for this episode. So instead of trimming it down, I'm editing anything out. I'm going to split it into two parts. This is just the beginning of a much deeper story, one about recovery, growth, and finding peace after the chaos. We'll pick it up next week right where we left off, literally, trust me. And then you're going to want to hear the rest. Raab's story is far, far from over, and I'm excited for you to hear the second part. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this. It takes real bravery to face yourself, to slow down after years of running, to sit in the quiet, and to start rebuilding piece by piece. Finding peace isn't flashy. It's not the kind of thing that makes headlines. It's the quiet, daily choice to keep showing up for yourself, to do the work, to find clarity, to laugh again, even when it feels impossible. Raab's story is proof that it's never too late to change direction, to trade chaos for calm, and to become the person you were always meant to be. If something in today's conversation stirred something in you, or if you just need someone to talk to, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out anytime at bravingthebrightside@gmail.com or find me on Instagram at braving_thebrightside. And if you got a story you feel called to share, but you're not quite ready to tell it yourself, that's okay. You can send it to me, and with your permission, I'll read it here on the show, so your voice and your journey still get the chance to be heard. Thank you for spending a little time on the bright side with me today. Until next time, keep braving it. One step, one sunrise, one honest conversation, and yes, even one crash out at a time. I'll see you next week.